This is one of the best examples of the downside of being a Chad that I've seen on the internet. I'm going to add to it as we go along. So the name of this video is The Handsome Curse, Why Being Good Looking is a Big Problem for Men. The channel's name is Dan Bacon. I'm personally not familiar with him, but a lot of people seem to like him. So let's see what this is all about.
A lot of guys assume that if a man is handsome, then all of his problems with women are going to be solved. But as someone who has a number of handsome friends, I'm not handsome myself, I know, I'm just average.
Oh my God, Jorge Del Rio looks is going to be super jealous.
Looking, but as someone who has a number of handsome friends and has helped a lot of handsome men over the years to become successful with women, I'm aware of a secret that a lot of handsome men keep and rarely share with anyone else. And that is, handsome men are often pursued by very superficial women who really only want him for his looks. In most cases, the woman doesn't have the kind of looks that he really wants, but because she is pursuing him and she's being persistent, he gives her a chance and ends up in a relationship with her. Yet in other cases, the woman is pretty, but she is superficial in that she really cares about looks and thinks it's the most important thing. And as a result, in both cases, the handsome guy doesn't really feel like he's being loved for his true character.
I think there's an element of truth to what he's saying. Like, not always, right? You can have a girl who's dating a handsome guy who's not super superficial, right? It could just be a nice little bonus. But yeah, I do think a guy who's really good looking is more likely to encounter a superficial girl, and what he needs to do is be able to screen better than a guy, for example, who's ugly. Because a guy who's ugly, and let's say he's not even rich, he's like middle class, right? He doesn't really have to worry about a girl using him for something, right? As long as he's not like beta bucksing or something like that. Versus a guy who's really, really good looking, does have that potential fear, right? Just like a rich guy, he needs to screen more effectively.
The woman is mostly with him because of his looks. If she's not very physically attractive herself, right, she's average or below average looking, then it's a huge bonus for her socially and emotionally to have a handsome guy, right? She can show off to her family and friends. She can walk down the street and feel proud that she's got a handsome guy and so forth. But the handsome guy is getting the short end of the stick there. He's not getting a really good deal. It's great that he was pursued by her, and for a while that might have made him feel kind of good, but it's not the kind of love that another guy will get to experience where the woman actually loves him for who he is, right? She really loves his character. She loves the way he makes her feel and so forth. Now, of course, many handsome men out there do get to experience that at times, but for the most part, handsome men get pursued by superficial women or unattractive women, and they eventually give those women a chance. And the handsome man is...
I don't know if I agree with the unattractive part, but I definitely agree with the superficial part.
Looked at by other guys as being really cool and handsome, like he can get all the girls, but secretly he doesn't feel as loved and he doesn't feel the kind of connection that he really wants to experience. So first I'll talk about what a handsome man can do to fix the problem, and then I'll explain what an average looking guy or a below average looking guy can do to access attractive women. What a handsome man needs to do is something that's difficult for a lot of handsome men, and that is they need to get out of their comfort zone and actually approach and select the type of women that they really want. Right? A lot of handsome guys get into a comfort zone where they get approached by women that usually aren't that attractive, but they pursue them and they give them a chance. And they kind of go through that and eventually get a girl. In many cases, that is
very, very true, right? If you're a good looking guy and you're only talking to girls who come up to you, that is a massive, massive sample bias. You're leaving a lot of girls on the table. And I would say the girls who probably have the most going for them in life, the girls who are really just the sweetest, most feminine, they're probably not going to go out and approach a guy, okay? They're probably going to be approached by a guy. So you do have to still approach, even if you're a good looking guy.
Fairly good, she's decent, and the guy then settles down with her, but secretly he's thinking, damn it, I wish I had a prettier girlfriend or a prettier wife. All right, but he never did step out of his comfort zone and actually walk up and talk to women that he found attractive and get a relationship started with them instead. Now, for average looking guys or below average looking guys, just understand that in most cases, a beautiful woman is not going to be amazed by your physical appearance and then come over and talk to you and want to be with you. It's rarely, if ever, going to happen. But a beautiful woman can feel amazed by how you make her feel when you interact with her. This is why you'll see guys and wonder, how did he get her? Right? It doesn't seem to make sense because the man and woman aren't on the same level of looks physically. She looks more physically attractive than him. So how did he get her? In many cases, he got her by giving himself a chance to actually try to attract her and get things moving along. He gave himself a chance.
Yeah, that is very true. This is what the black pillars get wrong. They think attraction is logical. Girls looking like, oh, his face is very symmetrical and he's got a nice hip to waist ratio, right? Attraction is very emotional, right? Now, again, looks play a role, but that's that initial spark. I've personally been in a situation, one that particularly stands out. It was me and this like kind of bodybuilder guy who's way better looking than me. We go up to two girls. This was in Prague. And at first, the girls were literally only interested in my friend, right? Literally the girl that I was hitting on said, hey, you're cool, but you're really not my type at all. I like guys who are bigger. This is when I used to weigh like 140 pounds, right? Okay, so then we go out with the two girls. We spend about an hour and a half in them. And you know what happened? The girls completely forgot about the good-looking guy, and I wound up the one having sex with her, right? Because again, that guy, he had some beta qualities, he was a little shy, he didn't know how to lead, versus I'm confident, I'm charismatic, right? And over time, I built up a lot more traction. So yes, a good-looking guy will start with more traction, right? But it's superficial attraction that's not going to last for an extended period of time.
Right, and by doing that, he often comes across as a guy who has a bit of confidence because he's actually giving it a go, right? He's going after what he wants. And if he's determined during the interaction, not in a desperate way, but determined to stay in there and continue talking to her and create a spark by, cracking some jokes here and there, being a bit charming and so forth, then in many cases he'll get a chance. Right now, if he has a higher level of skill, and he actually understands how to attract women during a conversation, then it's going to be a lot easier for him. He's going to get results more often. But some guys are able to get a chance just by giving themselves a chance, right? Giving themselves the opportunity to talk to the woman and actually get things moving along. Most of the guys who have contacted me over the years who complain about the dating scene and say that it's all too difficult, women are too picky, and so forth, are the guys who don't actually walk up and talk to attractive women. Now, of course, some guys do approach attractive women, but they don't know how to attract her during a conversation, or they come across as too nervous, too unsure of themselves, or they say the wrong things during the interaction that gets the woman's guard up, and the guy then doesn't get a chance. And he says, well, beautiful women, attractive women, they're all too picky, it's too difficult, I can't do it. No. Now,
He's right. Most guys are horrible at approaching girls. Okay, you know how the average guy who actually does approach a girl, and that's still a small percentage of men, hey, you're really hot, can I get your phone number? Or hey, do you have a boyfriend? That's how the average guy, even good-looking guys, approach women, right? If you have some level of social skills and cold approach skills, you're going to stand out.
It's usually easier for a handsome man because when he starts talking to a woman, she looks at his physical appearance and the fact that he has the confidence to come over and talk to her, and she's like, oh, wow, and she feels interested right away. Whereas someone like myself, the woman isn't amazed by my physical appearance at the start, but because I know how to display traits like confidence, charm, masculinity, and charisma in a way that attracts women, as well as use the kind of humor that attracts women, it causes women to feel multiple sparks of attraction for me during an interaction. The really cool thing is that when you make a woman feel attracted to you by displaying traits like confidence, charm, charisma, and so on, she then actually looks at you as being more physically attractive than she initially judged because she's now looking at you through the lens of attraction. Of course, I didn't always know that. The thing is, I used to think that I was cursed with women because I didn't look like a good-looking guy or a handsome man. No attractive women approached me, and when I tried to talk to attractive women, I'd get rejected, ignored, or friend-zoned. That really hurt, but it turned out to be a blessing in disguise because it forced me to do something that most handsome men will never do.
As a side note, I was in the same exact boat. When I was 18, 19 in college, going out night after night and just getting rejected, I thought the issue was I was too ugly, right? I was like, okay, clearly there's something wrong with me, right? Which is why it was such a trip around 2021 when I slowly started meeting girls and they were like, yeah, you're really cute, I love your eyes, or whatever. I'd be like, really? Like, you think I'm attractive? Right? So yeah, but like at the end of the day, I was just socially awkward. I was not confident. I was always like extremely self-deprecating, but not in a funny way, kind of in a cringy way. So I was making multiple mistakes that were turning girls off.
Is actively approach women every weekend until I figured out what to say and do to make women feel attracted to me. Once I figured that out, I then enjoyed a smorgasbord of beautiful, pretty, and cute women. On a side note though, the women I picked up, had sex, and had relationships with over the years would have most likely preferred to be approached by a tall, handsome man. Right? I'm only 5'9" in terms of height, but the tall, handsome men rarely, if ever, approach, so I got the girl instead. So the solution for all men, regardless of looks, isn't to wait around hoping to be pursued by women that you want. Instead, you need to know what to say and do to attract a woman during an interaction and then give yourself the opportunity to do that. Then as long as you know what you're doing with that sort of opportunity, right, you know how to move things from one step to the next, you get results with most of the women that you approach. You get phone numbers, you get kisses, sex.
Okay, this I will disagree with. You won't get results with most of the girls you approach, okay? If you're doing cold approach, right, you're not gonna hook up with 50, 60% of the girls you approach, right? I think that most of the experienced guys, the guys have good game, they sleep with something like 10% of the girls they approach. So for example, I go up to 10 girls, I get 3, 4 phone numbers, right? One or two of those girls I get a date with, and I hook up with maybe most of the girls I go a date with, like 60, 70%, right? So it's not gonna be most girls, right? But again, if you're talking to 20 girls a day, that's way more girls than you can handle.
On the first night, or you get the phone number and set up a date and then have sex with her and start a relationship. Handsome guys can do that, average looking guys can do it, below average looking guys, and even guys that others may say look ugly can do it, right? It's not possible for an ugly guy to pick up every woman in the world, but if an ugly guy, or a guy that people say is ugly, gives himself...
I do think he's sugarcoating it a little bit. Like if you're a guy who's less attractive, you're gonna have to compensate in some way, either by having, a badass social circle, having, really, really solid social skills, being really, really funny, for example, putting on a lot of muscle, although that can only take you so far, stuff like that, or just doing more volume, typically going up to talking to more girls. Like eventually you will hit one that will be willing to overlook your lesser lack of physical attractiveness and focus on the other things you have going for you, like confidence and charisma and stuff like that. But also, if you're less attractive, you're probably going to be better off in general meeting girls through like social circle, right? Where girls are going to be less likely to look at the superficial and more likely to consider your confidence and character. But again, that's only if you have good game, good social skills.
Chance and he's confident, he will get more results than a handsome guy who doesn't even approach women. Right? Because he's actually giving himself a chance. He's putting himself in front of the beautiful woman or the attractive woman, the pretty woman. He is being confident, he's being charming, he's making her laugh, and he's moving things forward. He's giving himself a chance. Now, a couple of important things to point out here is that you may have heard the phrase attraction to looks fades over time. Right? You might have heard that before. But that's actually a beginner level understanding of what the reality is regarding attraction and looks in a relationship. I'll explain that in a second. Now, the other point is that when I talk about this sort of stuff, there's always some guy that comes along and says, well, hang on, what if she gets with a guy that's below average looking and then she eventually realizes that he's not good looking enough and then she leaves him and gets with a good looking guy, right? And then he's stuffed, right? So I'll talk about those two things now. Now, attraction to looks fades over time in a relationship. Yes, if the couple aren't in love. When a couple remains in love, they look at each other with what I call love goggles. It's similar to beer goggles when you've been drinking a lot and an unattractive woman suddenly looks more attractive and appealing. In terms of a relationship, when you create a relationship dynamic where both you and her remain in love and have love goggles on, you literally continue looking at each other as attractive even after decades have gone by. Yet, if a couple falls out of love, then they stop looking at each other with love in their eyes. Right?
That is very much true. Love goggles absolutely exist, especially on girls' part, but even on guys' part. Like, for example, me and my girlfriend will be walking around, Natty will point to some hot girl, she'll be like, wow, she's really cute. And I'll be like, actually, I think you're a lot hotter. And she'll be like, what? You're crazy. And the same thing will be like, when we're hanging out, she'll be like, oh my God, you're so gorgeous. I'll be like, all right, I mean, I'm decent looking, babe, but like, come on, I'm not like that gorgeous. Like, no, you are really gorgeous, right? That's not because I'm actually objectively really gorgeous, right? I'm probably slightly above average looking. It's because she has love goggles and I also have love goggles. So that is very much a real thing.
Start to look at the flaws and they start saying, well, I don't like the way that, she's got that scar on her face. I don't like the shape of her nose now. Why didn't I even notice that? I don't like this part of her body or whatever. And the guy starts to notice that, or she starts to notice things about him and doesn't like it anymore. That's because they're not in love with each other. And that then answers the second point I was making there, where...
One also quick point about love goggles, it can also be a negative, which means you're willing to overlook really deceptive and bad behavior on the girl's part because you love her. Like maybe there's a good evidence that she's cheating on you, or she's lying to you, or she's just being a bitch, right? And you're willing to overlook that because you love her, right? So you do need to have some awareness. It's like, hey, am I actually evaluating her actions and her behavior in an honest manner, or am I just so delusioned by the fact that I love her?
Guys say, hang on, but, you attract her initially, but then, she realizes that you're not good looking and, she leaves you and cheats on you with a better guy, and then you're screwed. Yes, that will happen if you're not able to maintain the relationship properly, if you're not able to create a dynamic where the love, respect, and attraction grows between you and her, and she falls out of love with you and then loses attraction for you. But if you're able to create and maintain a dynamic where you and her are in love, she will continue to look at you as the one for her, right? She won't want any other guy. She may look at another man and think, yep, he's handsome, but she is not going to want to leave and lose the love and the amazing feelings that she has for you and the amazing experience that you have together as a couple based on the dynamic that you have just to go be with a handsome man. It just doesn't work like that. Okay.
I think that's a little oversimplistic. So, okay, here's how it works. So with certain girls, it doesn't matter. Even if you're in love, if it's a girl who doesn't have good values, who doesn't, has some self-destructive behaviors, right? Maybe she deep down inside doesn't think she's good enough to be in a relationship, to be happy, because maybe her dad cheated on her mom or stuff like that. Then even if you do everything right, she could still cheat on you, which is why it's very important to screen carefully when you're trying to get a serious girlfriend or a wife, right? I look at things like, okay, what is her relationship like with her friends? What's her relationship like with her family? Like if this girl is like, doesn't have any real serious friends that she's known for more than a few years, she's constantly like getting in and out of fights with her friends, she doesn't really have a good relationship with her family, right? That's a massive red flag, right? So you look at stuff like that. And yes, body count is one thing you might consider. Now look, I'm not gonna be like, oh my God, her body count is 8 or 9, like that's a deal breaker, right? She's not a virgin. No, but if her body count is several hundred, then chances are she's very, very highly novelty driven. And that is kind of a red flag for a serious relationship, at least in terms of her staying loyal. And I'm not saying that no girl with, high body count isn't capable of staying loyal. It's just the risk is high. Also, the second thing is that a girl's needs must be met. There's her sexual needs and then there's her emotional needs. Those are the two big ones. So for example, let's say the girl is really into like rough sex and like BDSM and you're super vanilla in bed and she's just not having sexual needs met. That is an issue. Doesn't mean she's always going to cheat on you, but the risk definitely goes up. And let's say, for example, she wants to talk to you about her feelings and what's going on in her life and you're super emotionally cut off and all you do is like have sex with her and like watch TV with her. That is also an issue. She's going to look for a guy potentially that she can meet her emotional needs with, right? So again, you have to find the right kind of girl through very careful screening and also make sure you're meeting her sexual and emotional needs.
Of course, there are minute exceptions here where a woman can be sane and then go insane. She can become a crazy woman and then she leaves you. Or you don't manage the relationship correctly and she starts hanging out with the wrong crowd and you don't know how to handle that. And then she ends up cheating and so forth. That sort of stuff can happen if you don't handle the relationship properly. But if you create a dynamic between you and your woman where the respect, attraction, and love grows over time, then both of you don't want to be with anyone else. I can tell you 10 years into a relationship, I see other women and I can look and say, yeah, she's pretty, she's attractive, but I would not want to be with her instead of my wife. No way would I want that. The amount of levels that her and I have gone through in the relationship where the respect, attraction, and love has become even deeper is something that another woman might not even be capable of because of her level of intelligence, or she may just...
Yeah, and what he's saying here is definitely largely true. For anyone who's in a relationship, this is something that they can understand, or at least a happy relationship. Like, people will say, like, oh, Alex, but there's this one other girl who, is interested in you, and she's hotter than Natty, so what, don't you want to level up with her? Like, if you could get, like, I'm like, no. Like, I don't care if the girl's a 9 or a 10 or whatever, super hot, right? I'm not going to trade my girlfriend, who I love, who I have this massive, level of connection with, who we have a lot of like shared values and shared experiences, for a girl who is like some people think is more attractive, right? Even if I think she's more attractive, I'm still not going to do that, right? This is common sense to anyone who's in a happy relationship, and absolutely blows the mind of people who've never been in a relationship, because they think it's like so logical. It's like, oh, well, the girl's hotter, so you got to date her.
Not be the right sort of match emotionally or whatever. She might have a nice butt, or she might have a nice rack or whatever, but I've already got that. Why would I want to get that with another woman and then start all over again, right? You just get to a point where it doesn't make sense to leave and be with someone else, right? And the woman feels that too, right? She realizes that the chance of her finding a man who's able to make her feel the way that you do is basically 1 in a million. So it's not worth the risk. And as a result, she doesn't leave you. She doesn't suddenly say, hang on a second, you're not as good looking as a guy I could have got. I'm in love with you, I respect you, I feel attracted to you, we have a great relationship, but his face looks better. I'm going to get with him. It just doesn't work like that. If you want to be truly happy with your results with women, then it's best to be the selector rather than waiting to be selected by women. Some guys get lucky when a woman pursues them and she's the right woman for them, right? She's pretty, they get along, they fall in love, and it's just like, yes, this girl pursued me and it was easy and now we're together and the relationship is great. Some guys get lucky like that, but most guys who wait to be selected are not selected by women that they really want to be with. If you want to be truly happy with your results with women, you have to have the confidence and know-how to be able to walk over and select a woman, start an interaction with her, make her feel attracted, and make something happen with her. When you do that, you are in control. You get to decide which girl gets to be your girlfriend. You don't just have to take whatever you can get. You are the selector.
Yeah, I think everything he said is correct. I think some of it is a little bit overly simplistic, but just kind of like buttress the point about, like what's the downside of being a handsome guy. I've had multiple clients, at least 3 or 4 that I can think of, that you guys would classify as chats, like good looking dudes, much better looking than me. Guys who are tall, who are ripped, have a very symmetrical face, right? Black pillars would be jerking off to them. And how many of them have actually been successful with women? Well, at least of the sample size, some were virgins, some were like had a body count of 1 or 2. A lot of them were struggling. And you would look at these guys, you'd be like, oh, this guy's crushing it with girls. But the reality is they're like super shy, they're super awkward, they didn't really know how to go up and talk to a girl, they didn't really know how to have good Tinder photos, right? Girls were thinking they were catfish, they sucked at texting girls, they never moved things towards the date. And a lot of these guys were virgins, right? So again, just because you're good looking doesn't mean you're successful with women. Now look, obviously, if your choice is to be born good looking or not good looking, the clear winner is to be born good looking. I think the pros outweigh the cons, but there's certain things that you do have to know. It's not all just rainbows and sunshines. There are some downsides of being born good looking. Let's take a look at some of the top comments here. So, I was handsome in school. I was bullied in school by jealous boys. I had no friends. Very common. One thing I like to add is if you check multiple boxes, handsome, tall, good dresser, good physique, but you're introverted or shy and don't make an effort to reach out to people or smile at them, you're more likely to be categorized as arrogant or full of yourself. Men will be threatened by you and women will bully you for not reciprocating. It's a curse. As a handsome guy, I get used by narcissistic women who only want a good-looking guy to be hedonistic with. I'm an introvert, so people think I'm arrogant. Automatically get assumed that I'm sleeping around a lot. Have to win their trust a lot of the time. So you can see here in the comments, like this is a complete counterpoint to what all black pillars say, who basically like make being good looking like the end all be all, right? But you can see that actually there are some downsides. Again, overall, I would say it's a positive, but there are some active downsides that no one is telling you about. Also, quick reminder, the Halloween sale we are doing on the Ultimate Dating Blueprint 2.0 for the guys who are serious about taking dating life to the next level ends in 24 hours. And this product is absolutely my masterpiece. I put years of work of my life into this thing, covers everything from photos to bios, text game, dealing with objections, retention, fucking girls better, mindsets, fashion, getting jacked, and much, much more. There's literally even a pussy eating tutorial. And yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. The Halloween sale is 20% off and ends November 1st. And if for any reason you're not happy, we're offering a 2-week full money back guarantee. So there's absolutely no risk. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Until next time.